Hey y'all, hope everybody's doing good. So I thought that I would do a special little video. Tomorrow is Emma's 8th birthday. 8 years I've been a mother. She was my first child, and what a whirlwind of 8 years it's been. She was our first, and then we've added a couple siblings along the way. And I just thought it would be nice to share the story of how she came to be and how I found out I was pregnant and the pregnancy and birth and things like that. I thought it would be fun to share Emma's story for her 8th birthday. Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump into it. If I look down, I'm kind of referring to her baby books and stuff, so I get all the details exactly right because, 3 kids and 8 years later, it's kind of blurs together a little. But so Matt and I were not on the greatest of paths in life. We were doing things we shouldn't have been doing with people we shouldn't have been around, and we both knew that we shouldn't be doing things, and we both kind of were on our last leg on what we should do with our lives. We knew we wanted to be together, but we didn't know what direction we were going. We just were lost and felt a little bit hopeless. And I remember Matt telling me that one night he laid in bed and he prayed to God and said, God, just give me a reason to stop all this. Give me something to live for. Send me a sign that I can do better in my life than this. And he told me about that a couple weeks later. And so we just went on our usual thing. I had a job, and he worked some jobs, some odds and ends and things like that, but nothing too steady. So I remember I had skipped my monthly, but then I'd had like a little spotting, so I was like, oh, no big deal. But I could notice some changes in my body, and everything made me sick. Oh gosh, everything made me nauseated. And it was just, and I guess my mother's intuition. So, of course, my mama, she always knows. We worked at the same place. We worked at BIWO, and we both worked there. And she had already been at work, and then my brother had brought me to work. And I was on the phone with Matt. I was always on the phone with Matt, always. And I was on the phone with him as I came to work, and she's like, come with me, we're going to go to the bathroom. And she pulls out a pregnancy test. And I'm like, really, Mama? Really? So I go into the stall. I'm still on the phone with Matt, but he has no idea what I'm even doing. So I go in the stall, and I pee on the stick, and as soon as I peed on it, it turned 2 lines. It turned pink, the pink lines, and I'm like, Mama, what is it? What is it supposed to do if it's positive? And she told me, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God. And I ran out of the stall, and Matt's like, what? What do you, oh my God. And I ran out the store, and I was standing in front of the BIWO, and I was like, Matt. And he's like, what? What is it? And I was like, I'm pregnant. It turned. He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm pregnant. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And so I had to work a shift after just finding that out. And I worked the late shift till like 11 that night. And that was like, it might have not been, I think it was like 9 o'clock that night, because I remember going to the Dollar General that night and picking up another test, because I wanted to be sure. I wanted to make double sure, because I've heard of false positives and stuff, and I wanted to be sure before we really freaked out. So we went by the Dollar General on the way home, me and my mom, and we got another test, and sure enough, it turned positive. That's crazy that 8 years later this is still positive. How funny. So it was a couple days, and me and Matt took a couple days, to process everything, and he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, well, 2 tests popped up. So we were pretty sure. But around here, you have to have a proof of pregnancy before you can start any kind of insurance or start doctor's visits. So we went to the pregnancy center, and I went there, and part part of their thing they first do is they do a pregnancy test too, and it turned positive too. So there we were, 3 positive tests later. I probably took about 10 more, but so we were pretty sure that it was for sure. We were pregnant. So me and Matt let that sink in. And to me, as soon as I found out, I did a 180. My whole way of thinking was completely different. I was like, baby mode. This is it. This is what I'm supposed to do in my life. I'm supposed to be a mom. And as soon as I was pregnant, it kicked in. That instinct of, I'm going to protect this baby, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure this baby is safe and I have a healthy baby. So, of course, I get all the books, the what to expect when you're expecting, and I read it religiously every single week thing. I still have the book, too, and I have all the little dog-eared pages of important stuff, and stuff was highlighted. So, I was doing everything I thought I should be doing at that point. And so we went to the first doctor's visit, and all you ladies know, the first doctor's visit is blood work, the urine pregnancy test, and they draw your blood, and they get your family history and all that stuff. So that's not really a fun visit. But at this point, I didn't know how far along I was at all. I didn't know because I couldn't really tell because I had that little spotting incident. Now I know that was implantation. So now I know that. But so I had no idea how far along I was. So when I went to get the ultrasound, Matt was working that day. And so I was like, well, it's probably just going to be like a little bean. So it's not really going to be that big of a deal. Well, now 3 kids later, I know that is a big deal. I was only, oh my gosh, I just forgot how old I was. I was 20 years old. I told y'all, 3 kids. I had my brain fart. But I was 20 years old, and I wasn't that in tune with my body. I didn't know things. I didn't know that much about pregnancy, although I'd been around a lot of pregnancy my entire life. But I didn't know, like, the ins and outs of it. So I didn't realize that, that first ultrasound is a big deal. That's when you see the heartbeat, and you make sure the heart is beating, and make sure the baby's growing and everything. Well, so I went to the first ultrasound by myself, but not thinking that, this is going to be a big deal. So we go in, and the doctor's like, oh, are you ready to see your little teddygram? That's what she called it, that it would look like a little teddygram with the little arms and the little legs sticking out, just the little arm buds just really starting to pop out. Well, she did the internal ultrasound, and as soon as she put it in, I started crying because I could see the baby, and I could see the baby's long legs, and Matt's really tall, so I just immediately started bawling because I knew we were going to have a long-legged baby like Matt. I was not just 6, 7, 8 weeks. I was 13 weeks along, so the baby already had teeny tiny little feet, and I could see all of her little fingers and all of her toes, and her legs were kicking around, and I could see her profile of her little face. And instantly I knew I was in love. Like a love you'd never experienced before when you see that first ultrasound of your baby. No matter how small or how big the baby looks already, you're automatically completely in love. And so I left from that ultrasound, and I was so excited. And I called Matt, and I was like, you got to come see the pictures. You got to come to my house. Because we didn't live together at that time. We were just dating. And I was like, you got to come see the pictures. And I showed them to him, and he was really excited about it. And it was just, we were really excited, and we knew that this was what was going to change our lives. This was it. Our lives were going to change. We were going to be doing what we were meant to be doing. So Matt was looking for a steady job, and I was still working for a little while. And on up into my pregnancy, Matt wanted me to quit because I was so sick, absolutely so sick all the time. And so one day he came pick me up from work, and he was like, "You're just never gonna go home now." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're just gonna live with me." By this time, nobody knew that I was pregnant. Only my parents knew. His family had no idea that I was pregnant, but I was still staying there sometimes. And so he took me to work one day and came and picked me up, and he was like, you're never going to go home. And I think we hid it from his family for a couple weeks. We knew for a couple weeks before we told his family, because we were really, we were scared to tell them. Because at that time, some family had been trying to have a baby, and they weren't. So in my heart, being the sensitive person I am, I didn't want to say, oh, I'm pregnant. And they'd been trying for so long to have a baby. So that part of that was why we didn't tell, and we were scared because we weren't married. He didn't have a steady job. We didn't have a place to live. And we were scared of what his family was going to think. So one day he came and got me from work, and I had been staying there for a little while. And we kind of had not been talking to his parents or around them because we were scared to death. And so one night we were like, we're going to tell them. We're just going to tell them. So we went in, and they were in their den watching TV, and we went in, and I sat down. I was not talking. Matt did all the talking. And we told them, we said, we have something to tell you, and we're scared about how you're going to react. And Matt said, Karma's pregnant. And his parents were like, they just kind of sat there for a little bit, and they were like, so that's why y'all been so distant from us. But then after everything was said and done, they hugged us, and they were excited, and they were happy for us, and I think they were really excited for their first grandchild. This was going to be the first new baby in the family. So that was like a big relief off our shoulders. And I remember I was living with them for a while. I moved out of my parents' house in with Matt, staying there with him because he wanted to be around me and be a part of the pregnancy. So we were living with his parents, and one of my memories is we were laying in the bed and we were watching Friends. And that was our favorite thing to watch back then. We'd lay in bed and watch Friends. Well, I was laying there, and I was like, if you watch Friends, you know that Rachel and Ross have a baby together, and they named their baby Emma. So I was laying there, and I was like, what about the name Emma? And we could name her Emma Lee, but not Emily, Emma Lee. And I said, after this show, and then your middle name is Lee, so why don't we, if it's a girl, why don't we name it Emma Lee? And then I kid you not, 5 seconds later, I felt the baby move for the first time. And that to me was like, if it's a girl, that is her name. That's her name. I just know if it's a girl, that's going to be her name. And that was a big deal. Matt's like, you really felt it? And of course he couldn't feel it from the outside yet. But I was like, I did. I know that's what it was. And that was an incredible feeling. And so we were living with Matt's parents. And his dad came to us and was like, we're going to look into mobile homes. And that's what we did. We got a mobile home, and we moved. We set it here on this piece of land, and we got our first house together. And that's where we're still living now. And then I just was having a really good pregnancy, and it came time to find out if we were having a boy or a girl. So we went to that appointment, and my mama was with us, and I'm pretty sure, his mom was with us too at the not the reveal. We didn't do gender reveals back then. We just did the ultrasound. They came to the ultrasound with us, and they put the jelly on my belly and then set it down, the little thing down, and was looking around, checking out all her stats and make sure her legs were growing and her heart was good and her brain was good. And then it came time to look for the little turtle or the 3 little lines. And I saw it immediately that it was 3 little lines. And I just started bawling. And I was like, I knew it. It's a girl. My mama had been telling me from the moment I found out that it was a girl. And she was like, I was right. And I think everybody was crying. we were all crying and bawling. And after the appointment, we were calling everybody, and oh, it's a girl. And the first person I took the ultrasound to show was my mama Joyce, who I've talked about before. She's my aunt, and she's passed away now. But I went and showed her, and she's like, I knew it was a girl. And so we were excited. We were getting our Emma Lee. And it was just an amazing time. We were so happy and so excited and scared to death. And we were finally on the right path in our life that we should have been. We weren't doing things we shouldn't have been doing. Matt had a job. I was taking care of our house. Just everything fell into place. We weren't married, but at that time in our life, God sent us on the path we were meant to be on. And no, we weren't married now, but He did that for a reason, because we needed Emma to be sent to us to save us from what we were doing. And He placed us to get pregnant, then to live together, then to get married down the road for a reason. And I truly believe that. So we were living together and pregnant, and it was time for baby showers, and everybody came to my baby shower, and it was celebrating Emma, and it was a really great time. And then I got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was in my the final stretch. So I went to my appointment. I was like 37 in 5 days, something like that. And they did all the usual, the blood tests, the urine tests, and all that. And my blood pressure was really high at that point. And they told me I had preeclampsia and that I was going to deliver. This was on a Friday, so that following Monday, I was going to deliver. They were going to induce me to deliver Emma. We were scared to death. We didn't think that's how it would happen. I thought I'd go into labor. I thought I'd probably go to like 41 weeks. But so we went home and started preparing and getting ready for our baby. So that day came around, January 29th, and me and my mom and Matt all got to the hospital at 6 o'clock. And they started me on the Pitocin and everything. And I was in labor from 7 o'clock in the morning until 2:43 p.m. in the afternoon. And Emma Lee was born. She came out screaming and yelling, letting herself be known. And she was so cute. She had a cone head, and she had like these little eyes that were kind of squinty, and she looked like a little old man, and only had hair on the back of her head in the back. And everybody in the room was bawling. And they laid her in my arms, and she was still screaming, and that was the greatest moment of my entire life. I just knew, okay, this is what I was meant for. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I was meant to be a mama. And we all were crying, and Matt and Mama were in the room with me when she was born. And then Matt's mom and sister were right outside. So they heard her as soon as she cried, and they said they were outside blubbering and crying. And it was just a great experience. And then from then on, I knew I was meant to be mom. So on January 29th, Emma Lee was born, weighing 6 pounds, 13 ounces, and 20 inches long, bald on top with a little bit of hair in the back. And she was our world. From that moment on, we knew that that's what we were meant to be doing. We were meant to be parents at that point in time in our life. And we brought her home, and we were so happy. She brought so much joy into our lives. And she was the missing piece that I think everybody needed. She brought the whole entire family together, and she brought joy and tears and happiness and exhaustion. And I was in love with being a mother, and I was in love with my new baby. And I just could not get over that I was missing this my entire life, and then I finally had what I needed. to be whole and to become a better person. And she was the most smiley baby. Such a good baby. She never got into anything. She barely ever cried. She was so happy and always smiling and looked just like her daddy. I think she looked just like him when she was little. She brings, and now as she's about to be 8 years old, she brings a lot into our lives. She brings humor. And me and her bump heads probably because we're so much alike. And we bump heads on a daily basis. And sometimes I think myself, does she even like me? Because me and her just test each other a lot. And I'm like, does she even love me? Am I doing right by her? And I have to take a step back and just like my mama tells me, Karma, me and you were the same way. And now look how close we are now. So just wait it out. She's going to seek you out later in life to be her rock. So I'm holding on to that. But right now she's a daddy's girl. And she is sassy like me and has a lot of attitude like me. But she also is very kind. And she doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Just like me. She is the sweetest person. And she loves to talk and laugh and sing and dance. And she brings a lot of light and laughter into our lives. And I honestly do not know what I would do without her. Because she helps me on a daily basis. But she shows me that I need more patience. She shows me that through anything, we will always still love each other. No matter if we fuss or fight, we will always love each other. And I have a little carbon copy of myself because she loves everybody and wants to make everybody happy. And she's got a bubbly personality. She's just like me. And I don't know what we would do without her. She's our only daughter. And will be our only daughter. And I don't know what we would do without her. We love her with everything in us. And I cannot believe she's already 8 years old. It flew by. Do not blink, because it just flies by in the blink of an eye. And she made me mom. She saved us from a life that was going nowhere. And she made me mom. She's the first person ever called me mama. And I will be forever thankful for that child. And on that cold January day, she made me mama. And she changed our lives forever. And now, as she's turning 8, I just want her to know that we love her. And we are so proud of her and who she's grown up to be. We love you so much. Happy 8th birthday, Emma. I hope you have the best day.